Was half the album written? Well, yeah, it was half the album was written, but when I joined the band, they didn't have a singer. Yeah. So
There you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Clint wanted to sing, but Clint's always been the star of Inspiral Carpets, which is cool. I don't have a problem with that. But and he's gone off and done his own thing. For me, I don't think convincingly he could be this wonderful, charismatic keyboard player that people love and be a lead singer. I think you needed a lead singer.
Sure.
So keep on going. Now I've gone through that incredibly bitter diatribe about. It's just
love it.
Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke, and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. Episode 76 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. This week we're talking to Tom Hingley, Inspirals. It's a fun one, isn't it?
It's an interesting one.
Yeah. We'll get onto that one a bit later. But before we get onto that, what's everyone been up to? Dave, what's been going on in Berwick? Well, give us a Berwick news.
Oh, Saturday night was brilliant. We went out to a Cayley.
Oh, I like a bit of Cayley.
Marillion. Marillion.
No, the one that's spelt CIZJLIDHJY.
Yeah, it's a funny spelling, isn't it? No one knows how to spell.
Did we talk about this before? And I can't remember what it is.
It's like a jig, isn't it?
Country dance. You have a little band, violin, accordion, guitar, and a caller telling everyone how to do the dance.
Everyone gets their knobs out. It's just a dockathon.
They don't get the knobs out. Not everyone.
Is it a dockathon?
It's not a dockathon.
It is a big,
but it's similar.
Big old dockathon.
It's like that.
But
not quite.
That's good. Sounds all right.
Yeah, it's really fun.
You go like down the line and stuff, don't you? They teach you, don't they?
Yeah.
Dozy do and all that.
It's like square dancing.
A little
bit, but I like the Scottishness of it.
Yeah, they have like a caller, don't they?
Yeah, who was Scottish. They might have been pretending to be, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's good. I like a bit of Cayley. And the song.
What do you mean?
I like the song too.
Have you ever done this dancing?
I filmed, it's quite common at weddings now. They get like a Cayley band in at the end and stuff. Gets the party going, doesn't it? Yeah, it gets the party started.
I've never heard of it.
Get into it.
Good on you, man.
Go and buy a Cayley album. Tell us how you get on.
To practice at home.
You'll probably be more into sort of, I don't know, Egyptian Cayley or something. Something a bit more off the
Ugandan.
wall.
Yeah.
You'll be listening to it soon.
I mean, if there is any, I'll have a listen.
Well, what's been happening in the town?
Nah, nothing. Isn't my Cayley experience enough?
It is, but what we really want to know is if you've still got the right to roam on Lord Lloyd's land.
We're still roaming.
Still shitting? Did you have a shit? Oh, that was your homework to go and have a shit on his garden.
Well, it was a comment you guys made, but not something I'd realistically do.
I think you agreed to it.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably
did. You go and have a turd on his lawn? You need to set some boundaries. Show him his boss. Luke, what have you been up to?
Oh, man, just the usual, reading books, listening to records. I got a cool thing today, though. I ordered some records from Wrong Speed Records.
Oh, yeah. Past guests.
And this came with it. It's completely hand drawn. You see that?
Oh, yeah. Really? You're a cunt. Fuck off and leave us alone.
It doesn't say that at all. So they do like a radio show, and every episode, like they make these like hand drawn like playlists, and it's really fucking cool, right? So he included that with
an original.
Yeah,
you should get that framed and laminated.
I might do. It's really cool, right? It's really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And on the back it says, "Look, cheers for all the support. Take it easy, Joe." How cool is that?
Yeah, that's good. You should put that in your music room.
Yeah, I might do. Yeah, I might put it in my office. Don't know, do something with it. It's great.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's got a list of all my favourite kind of Wrong Speed bands listed as well. So great stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
That was a cool thing.
What else?
What else? Okay, here's something. So in it's more record talk, I'm afraid, but we are a music show, aren't we?
Yeah, of course.
So Tower Records in Shibuya is like the best place in Tokyo to buy like reissues of like, you know, old albums and stuff. So without meaning to, I go there like once a month. Without meaning to, the last few months I've come away with a classic 90s album. So I got like Dogman Star, Suede's second album, which I'd never had on vinyl. I think that was in November. In December, I've got Blue Line's Massive Attack because it was cheap. Yeah. I used to have it on CD, but never on vinyl. And this month, I got Mazzy Star. So Tonight That I May See, which I'd never properly listened to until people started talking about it on the podcast, right? And it's really good, man.
I remember someone always used to put Mazzy Star on in the common room, which is why I know about that. Them. And I might say I made myself look stupid already on this podcast, but it might have been the Facebook group. But I generally thought that was just her name until very recently.
I think a lot of people did.
That's just the name of the band, isn't it?
Just
a funny name for a band.
It's a weird one. Yeah, it's a good album though, man. So if any listeners have got any recommendations, what should I get next month? Classic 90s record that I don't have that many classic albums because I'm such an indie fucking smug, annoying bastard that I didn't buy like the big ones. Yeah. So I've got lots of gaps in my collection. So suggestions in the comments, please. What to get next week?
Yeah. Have you got Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic?
I do have that. Yeah, I do have that. I did. Yeah. That was again. I only bought it last year or the year before, and that was another Tower Records reissue. Yeah. I was gonna get Dookie, Green Day. That was there.
That's good.
I was gonna get a Swerve Driver album, but I didn't know which one to get. There's a few things I considered, and then I got the Mazzy Star because I've been listening to it a couple of months ago. So
Dookie's a good one. It's got quite a good cover as well. I quite like the cover to do.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah,
have you got Piper at the Gates of Dawn?
I don't have Plopper at the Gates of Dawn. No. Not going to happen.
Shame.
Yeah. He's not going to do that.
It's not going to happen. Neil, what have you been up to?
I've been getting ill again, haven't I?
That's right. Something to do, isn't it?
Just stop doing that.
2 months.
It's changing the weather, isn't it?
You should stop licking the pavement like you do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's covered in germ.
Pre-getting ill, I have been I went down to Bournemouth to visit some friends, and I ended up going to see Main Street fellow member Ian Laurie and his new band, the Dinosaur Jones. They were good. It was a good night though, because I went there with Vince.
He's a good musician, isn't he?
Who?
I remember Ian being a very good musician.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah,
it's the one I think.
But, I went to watch him with Vince.
Yeah,
from Main Street. So that was nice, and we bumped into a few old musos from the past. It was just quite nice. But what was interesting, we were all watching Ian play, and I think we all had the same sort of lack of desire to be in a band anymore because it's just hassle.
I thought you was going to say the opposite. Okay, you didn't want to be. Why?
We were all like, we've done our thing. It was good at the time, but yeah, we're old and it's sort of done. But it was good to see Ian play though. They were really good. He's still into it, so
he's younger than you, isn't he? He's than the rest.
No, he's older.
Oh, is he?
He's nearly 50.
Oh,
yeah.
I must be mixed him up with one of the other members.
What does the Dinosaur Jones mean?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure. I like it though, but they're quite sort of punky, just a 3-piece. It was good though. I enjoyed it, but it was just nice to go and see a local band. I haven't done that for a long time, which you should do more of probably. It was good though because the guy who put the night on, it was the same guy who used to put the nights on when I was in Main Street. So he's still doing it. He's one of these local people that just puts on music every week. He's still doing it all these years later.
Did he remember you guys?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. he did. That was quite nice to see him as well. So yeah, it was just one of those nights. Quite nice to see everyone and catch up, reminisce.
Good stuff,
and
man.
yeah. All right, so shall we get on to jump straight into this week's episode with Tom Hingley from Inspiral Carpets? Yeah, should we do it? Yeah,
It's too late to
fucking do
jump straight into it. If we were going to jump straight into it, we would have done that from the beginning.
Fuck
point.
you.
He's got a point too.
Right, so if you are watching this, then please do subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, get involved in the comments. We're racing towards that 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, Mark.
Woohoo! Come on.
Yeah, so we're getting there. If you're listening, then please do rate and review. We haven't had any more of those. So if you could do that, I think we've only got about 5 reviews. So come on, more than 5 of you listen to it. So drop us a quick review. We'd appreciate it. And share it with your friends so that they can find the podcast. App, Dave, any app figures? What's going on with the app?
I've done the Android version. I've just got to go through loads of hoops to get that onto the, they call it the Play Store. But it's much harder to get stuff onto the Play Store now. I think I'm going to have to get 12 people to test it before they let me have it on there.
Oh.
So I'll have to go onto Facebook and see if I can get some helpers.
Careful.
Oh.
It's a scary place for you, isn't it? That's reminded me of something. Did you see Ed from Smash has been on there under your birthday?
Yes, that was brilliant.
Post? Yeah.
That's my favourite comment ever.
Oh no, I didn't see it. What does he say?
You haven't even bothered to fucking read it.
Well, I didn't. I would have if I'd known he'd been on there. I didn't know anyone had been on there.
He just wrote Dave, but in the Smash with the little asterisks in between. That's the biggest sort of.
That's cool.
Compliment.
Because that's I often
compliment.
sign our Christmas cards like that because all of my family, our initials are D, A, V, and E. So I put D star, A star, V star.
There you go.
Cards.
Oh yeah, no, that's the ultimate sort of thumbs up from Smash.
You're one of them, man. That's great.
Oh man, I'm going to frame
that. Yeah, you should.
That's brilliant.
It is. It is good. Where was I?
Well, let's just dive straight into the.
Oh no, sponsor.
Shall we?
Remember, you can sponsor the.
It's the slowest dive ever.
Remember, you can now sponsor the podcast. Just send us an email, Stupid and Contagious Podcast @gmail.com. If you're a band, record shop, anything music related, send us an email. We'll give you a shout out at the start of the show.
Well, that reminds me, actually, I've been eating these mints this week. Good time mints. They really freshen your breath.
See, that's the sort of thing that we can do. If you're in a band, Luke will give you a little review. Yep. Like he said, it will be an honest one. So
it will.
Hey, you know.
Yeah. That might be.
And we'll put a link to your band in the show notes so that everyone can find you and put you on the playlist, that sort of thing. So, yeah, just a reminder that you can now sponsor our podcast. Right, Tom Hingley from Inspiral Carpets. Inspiral Carpets, English rock band, is Wikipedia's first line.
Yeah, I mean, how would you describe them? I mean,
space rock.
Space rock? I wouldn't go there. Dave, can you do better than that? You can't do worse.
Indie rock.
Yeah, maybe you can do worse. No, it is. I guess. I mean, they came under baggy, right? Psychedelic indie, baggy indie.
That's what I said.
Rock. All right. So, Inspiral Carpets. So the classic lineup was today's guest, Tom Hingley on vocals, Graham Lambert on guitar, Martin Walsh on bass, Craig Gill on drums, and Clint Boone on keyboards. So the kind of the classic lineup, basically. So the roots go back to 82, 83, basically. Guitarist Graham Lambert.
82, 83. That's a long time ago, isn't it?
It is a long time. So guitarist Graham and singer called Stephen Holt basically formed up in Oldham in Manchester. Apparently they met at an indie disco It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, did we meet in an indie disco?
No, should have done though.
Yeah,
We
that
went
would've
to
been good,
lots.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Not till later years.
No, that's true.
Not when we were
That's true.
teens, really.
We went to youth club discos, but we didn't
Did
know
we?
each other then. Maybe I did.
I didn't
you?
go to a youth club. What, down Mercury Youth Centre?
Yeah.
No,
Dave, you
I
went,
only
didn't
went
you?
there about twice.
You went to the
I went
Alfriston
to
one. I went every
Alfriston
week.
one, yeah.
Anyway, so they had a few members, etc., and then they started to kind of coalesce properly around 1986. They recruited Craig on drums, who was only 14 at the time. You get that a lot, don't you? Super young band members.
It's not like, but the fact that they're 14 then, that's not the amazing. To become a drummer, that takes a lot of dedication. So they must have started playing drums when he was about 10.
Yeah, or younger. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't really think about that when you're that age.
No.
You're lucky if you do, I think. Maybe his parents pushed him into playing an instrument. That's usually the way.
So yeah, they started recording demos and stuff. Released a track on a flexi disc, which we talked about before for a Manchester magazine. Started selling T-shirts and stuff. The smoking cow logo was very popular, so the T-shirts started to get them noticed. And apparently, they had the slogan "Cool as fuck" on the T-shirt. And this tells you something about the times. So they say a student wearing a cool as fuck T-shirt was arrested for violating obscenity laws.
That's not true, is it?
That's what it says. That's what it said. That was
So
only
you could've
like
got-
mid-80s, right? 85. Like by the time we were wearing those T-shirts, everyone was
You had
wearing
your
obscenities,
Fucked
right?
T-shirt, and you wore it into the
Exactly.
common room and stuff.
I did. Yeah, but arrested,
rebel.
man, mid-80s.
Yeah.
Mind you, Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell were arrested this weekend for
They were.
being at a pro-Palestinian march.
Were they
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't read that. Okay.
I think it deviated
is
off
worse.
course or something. Yeah.
Oh, okay, they went off the approved route. Okay.
Sorry, I think
Okay,
that's
okay.
how they got them. Yeah.
But anyway, that gave them a bit of media attention anyway. The T-shirts and the arrest and all that kind of stuff. Started self-releasing singles on their own record label called Cow Records, named after their label. And they finally, basically built up the momentum, and they signed to Mute Records like 86, 87, something like that. And then just before they signed, the singer, Stephen, and the bassist, it was called Dave, they left basically just before they signed to Mute, and made their own band called the Rain Kings.
Why was that?
And
Why was that then? Why did they leave?
I don't know. I think they didn't want they didn't want the whole. They didn't want to commit, I guess, to being a bigger band. Maybe. Yeah.
That actually that brings up something I was reading this week about Dolores from the Cranberries.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it was obviously her story's pretty tragic anyway, but she never wanted to be famous or anything like that. She hated it. She cried all the time. And then there's loads of comments sort of underneath saying, well, why did she do it then? And the other people saying, well, because she just wanted to make music. Like the fame bit of it was never, which is interesting, isn't it? Because you think that everyone who gets in a band, they just want to be successful and famous and that. But some people generally do just want to play music.
It's like the Unbelievable Truth guy, right? Refused to do interviews and to play the circus. Yeah.
I think there are some of these people that are in it for those just because they like to play. And if someone sort of presents them with a major record deal, they're like, oh no, I don't want that. That's not.
Yeah, and she might have really not wanted to let the others down. And that fear of letting people down is really like a big thing for a lot of people.
Sure.
Makes them do stuff they don't want to do.
Yeah, but I have often thought that, like, if you didn't want to be famous, then why are you in a band? But yeah, I guess there are some people that just want to play music, and the fame bit is just not something they want at all.
I mean, they did write one of the best songs about farting ever made.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
I don't mind. I don't mind a bit of
Cranberries were shit, man. I was on the train once going to work, and there was a bloke in a Cranberries t-shirt, and I just thought, what the fuck? What train of events had to be put in motion where a Japanese guy wake up in the morning, like a Tuesday morning, got up, put on a Cranberries t-shirt, got on a crowded commuter train, and he just sat there as if it was nothing, as if it was just like nothing special, just sitting there in a Cranberries t-shirt like it was normal.
I can beat
Mental.
that. Someone was sitting there. I don't know where I saw. I think I walked through Brighton with a Mavericks t-shirt on. Remember the Mavericks?
that does beat it. That does beat it.
What possesses you to do
that? Yeah. That's good, man. Oh man, Mavericks are going on the fucking playlist.
They deserve a bit of a resurgence.
They do for that story. That's great. So,
we should have a t-shirt top trumps every week if we can, but then don't see that many.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I went to a conference a few months ago, and I was drinking with this guy that I know, and we're drinking like a few hours, and then finally at the end of the evening, he pulls up his jumper to reveal a 311 or 311, however you call him, t-shirt. It's just sitting there all night as if nothing had happened. Yeah, just underneath, exactly. Unbelievable.
Didn't you and Jake used to send each other shit t-shirts?
We did, yeah.
Have you stopped?
Yeah, me and Luke used to send each other the same Men Behaving Badly mug. Back and forth. It was like the worst item ever made.
You still got one?
I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, it's great.
Don't mind a bit of Men Behaving Badly.
It was a big program, wasn't it? It was pretty. At the time, we thought it was totally outrageous, right? But it was pretty fucking tame compared to what's broadcast nowadays. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting to the main point is that today's guest, Tom, then joined and came in as a singer. Although only after a certain Mr. N. Gallagher had tried out for them, and we'll talk about that afterwards because he talks about it a lot in the interview.
Yeah, I think that was our fault. To be fair, we started it.
We did. Although, we might not have done. Yeah. So basically, this is kind of building up to 88, 89 now. So basically, Madchester is brewing and starting to explode, and they're basically seen as kind of the third leg of the holy trinity of Madchester.
Yeah, that's fair. I think.
So Rose is number 1, Monday's number 2, Inspiral's number 3. I mean that's fair. They were pretty different, right? They were much more of a kind of a psychedelic. That's that organ that makes all the difference,
Space
right?
rock,
kind of 60s. No, that kind of farfisa. How do you say it? Farfisa organ that makes that 60s psychedelic sound.
It's good though. I do like those organs. I think that's kind of the organ was kind of what separated the Charlatans from a lot of those bands as well, wasn't it? The organ has a big part.
Even the Charlatans I wouldn't have called psychedelic.
Space rock?
I wouldn't have called
Stop saying space rock, you don't know what it means.
Either.
Yeah, so they're pretty different, right? They're from like the dancey and the kind of acid house stuff that the Mondays and the Roses were kind of psychedelic as well, reaching back to the 60s, but in a different way, you know. So I read something that someone said they were kind of less innovative than those two bands, but that made them longer lasting. That's what I read. Someone writing. Yeah, I don't know. I've been watching their Top of the Pops videos. They're great, man. Yeah. So, by the way, Tom came from a band called Too Much Texas, who like proper 80s sound going on, man. Really good. Kind of like a post-punky, kind of poppy, kind of 80s thing going on. You know, wearing berets and braces and shit. Just really cool, man. Really cool. Some good footage on YouTube.
You can have Too Much
of him
Texas,
playing.
can't you?
The band. Charlene Spiteri.
Oh, mate, they're the worst. Oh, no, Texas.
I bet Dave likes Texas.
Well, I do like the Cranberries. I was holding my tongue earlier.
Oh, really? I was just about to apologise. What the fuck am I apologising? I'm not apologising.
I can listen to the Cranberries, but
Texas I could take or leave.
What was that? Big old brown-eyed boy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Big old brown-eyed boy. That's the one. So yeah, first album came out in 1990. Got to number 2 in the charts straight away. Bang,
good,
right up there into the public consciousness. Yeah, some great songs. This Is How It Feels. She Comes in the Fall. Real Thing. Again, This Is How It Feels is probably still their biggest hit, I guess. Well, most well known maybe. Yeah, song, and yeah, at the top of the. It is good. It is good. But we talk about it in interview. But yes, it's a very kind of downbeat kind of.
Yeah, it's really sort of psychedelic out there, kind of.
It's really space rock, I would say. What would you say, Neil?
Space rock, isn't it?
It's a very downbeat kind of dark song, right? It's cool. If you go to watch their YouTube video of them on Top of the Pops, like him and Clint have got the best bowl cuts, man. Just like perfect fucking bowls. Yeah. Really good.
Good.
Yeah. And you also get the countdown as well. I think it's Simon Mayo giving the like the 40 to 10 to 11 countdown. It's Technotronic, Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence. Dave, yeah. Dave's on there giving the countdown. Black Betty, Ram Jam. 2 Roses songs are in there. Candy Flipper in there. That's great. Just seeing that, man. New Kids on the Block.
Strawberry Fields.
Hearing the countdown. Flip.
Yeah. What year was it?
Yeah. 1990.
I did like that Candy Flip cover.
So that was their big year, basically, for Inspiral Carpets. Did a Peel session, and they also headlined the Saturday night at Reading in front of 80,000 people.
That's mental, isn't it?
It's big, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought that Reading back then was still. Well, I guess they are a rock band, aren't they? But it was still very much a rock festival back then, wasn't it?
Oh, right, like the Donington legacy. No, I think by 1990...
it kind of watered down a little bit. Now it's just like the same as every other festival. It's not really rock festival at all, Reading, is it?
No, that's right. Music changes.
Space rock.
It's all right.
Yeah. Space rock, yeah.
So they followed it up pretty quickly. So 1991, second album, The Beast Inside, came out, got to number 5 in the charts. Caravan's probably the big song from that. Not particularly well received, despite the high chart placing. And it was around this time that Noel became their roadie as well. So around the time of the second album.
Oh, I thought he was roadie back from
No, days. I don't think so. I don't think so.
No.
So there was a gap between trying out for the band and becoming the roadie of a year.
I think so. A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I might be wrong, and I might be wrong, but yeah. Third album, terrible name, Revenge of the Goldfish, came out again just a year later, 92. Revenge of the Goldfish. Dave, you're into names. It's not a good album name, is it?
Well, quite a lot. I don't mind it.
All right. How about Inspiral Carpets?
That's good, isn't it?
What's the Dave verdict on that?
Good name. What's it? There is a thing called something carpets like that, isn't there?
Don't know the origin of the name. I'm sorry. Dragging Me Down was a big hit off that. Great song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is when I started to become aware of them. I mean, I knew like This Is How It Feels because it was on on Top of the Pops, but I think I didn't listen to them until around this time, maybe.
Yeah, it's just
92.
when we got into music.
We became old enough. Got to number 17 in the charts. Fourth album, Devil Hopping, came out 2 years later, 94. Got to number 10, and a bit of a return to form. So Saturn V was on now, which I love that song, and I Want You, which on the album version it's just Tom, but with the single version with Mark Smith.
I remember I bought that, and I remember that on Top of the Pops. It's bloody brilliant.
Same. I bought that as well from Dunn's.
Oh, we might have gone there together to get it.
Cassette single. Yeah, I think I had Saturn V as well. And again, man, the Top of the Pops is so good. Just like Marky Smith shuffling around in his fucking cheap leather jacket. At one point, he takes a bit of paper from his pocket and just kind of unfolds it, just checks the lyrics, just puts it back in again. It's so good.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, it's a brilliant song. So yeah, a bit of a return to form and doing well. It's number 10, top 10 album. But they were dropped by the record label in 95, and that was it for a few years. So Tom formed a band called The Lovers. Clint went on to the Clint Boone Experience, did really well with that.
Yeah,
Craig, the young drummer, he formed a band called Hustler, who then changed their name to Proud Mary, who I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
And then Noel Gallagher took them under his wing, and I think they were one of the first signings to his Big Brother record label.
That's right.
Proud
That's
Mary.
where I know it from. Yeah, Proud Mary. Yeah, that's right. What happened to them?
I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
Rhodey, Noel Gallagher, formed a rock band Oasis. And I don't know if this is true. It's only from Wikipedia. I couldn't find it in anything else I read. Apparently, the van driver was Mark Collins, who was in the Charlatans, who went on to be in the Charlatans. So two of their roadie people went on. Yeah, crew went on to critical acclaim. Apparently, he went to school with Bonehead as well.
Oh, right.
They reformed in 2003. Playing lots of gigs and stuff, but no new material. In 2011, Tom leaves, in inverted commas, the band, and we'll leave it for the interview for him to talk about it. Although he doesn't really clarify anything, does he? But let him say what he needs to say in the interview. So I won't talk about it really. And amazingly, the original singer Stephen Holt came back in all those years later. And they released a self-titled album in 2014 of new material. Very sadly, in 2016, Craig Gill died, aged only 44. Very sadly. The band decided to stop at that point, but they started up again in 2022, still with Stephen and not with Tom. And Tom basically plays lots of solo stuff, sometimes playing Inspiral Carpets stuff. He's released loads of solo albums. The latest one is called The Grand Mal from last year. It's pretty good. He released a book basically telling all of this stuff that he talks about in the interview called Carpet Bands in 2016. I haven't. No, it's on.
You should.
I couldn't read it in time. Basically, I will.
It sounds like it'll be a good read. If anything,
it's
if
definitely
high
on my list. I will in the next couple of months. I'll report back. And that's Tom, and that's the Inspiral Carpets.
Right. Well, should we have a listen to the interview and then we'll have a chat afterwards?
Yeah.
Here's Tom Hingley from Inspiral Carpets, ex-Inspiral Carpets. Enjoy. Tom, thanks so much for coming on. It's December the 23rd. You're out doing a bit of last-minute Christmas shopping, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a typical man. I leave everything to the last moment. Maybe that's gendering it too much. I mean, some people are very organised. They're kind of more really. They're like logistical geniuses, aren't they? Like, Steve Jobs, and then some people are like Winston Churchill, with chaotic. More like in my Christmas shopping habits, I'm more like Winston Churchill.
Nice.
I saw you've been doing some acoustic gigs over the last couple of months, playing Inspiral Carpet songs. How have they gone?
Some of them have gone really well, and some of them are bloody awful. You never know. I mean, sometimes you do gigs. I did a gig up in Irvine in Scotland, and it was like in a theatre that was sold out, 150 people there, and it was the sort of place where if you were doing question time. Right. That's where the art centre, like the art centre and the Harbourside Art Centre, and that's exemplary. That was great. And then sometimes we do a gig in a pub somewhere, and someone comes up and grabs you by the arm and says, in the middle of a song, says, "Can we have a selfie?" And so that's not quite so good. You get both. Generally, it's a pretty good experience.
Yeah. All right. Well, can we go back to your earliest musical endeavors then? How did you start playing music and getting into bands and stuff?
Well, my mum used to play piano. I mean, mum and dad aren't around anymore, but my mum used to play piano, and my dad was quite into middle class really. My dad was like an academic at Oxford, and he was sort of into opera, stuff like that. And we lived in a big house in the middle of nowhere. So we just got into playing music, and I think we were all learning to play instruments. And we lived in this house in the middle of nowhere, And we used to watch like the Osmonds Partridge Family on the telly, and probably Jackson 5. That was probably a bit of an influence. So we started playing music. There used to be a lot of really quite bad camp music on Radio 4, like Sing Something Simple, stuff like that. Mrs. Mills and stuff. Mrs. Mills, who actually was an influence to Damon Gough as well.
Really? Daddy Drum Boy?
Yeah, Mrs. Mills used to do these records where she played like a pub piano. It's a very English thing. So in its own way, you have to check it out on YouTube. Mrs. Mills had this piano. At one point, it was worth a lot of money, and no one knows where it's gone. It's piano. She's sort of more of a vaudeville musical thing, but Mrs. Mills was a big influence on Damon Gough, influence on us as well. Because it was so distinctly uncool, which of course renders it really cool. Something.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So we started playing in rubbish bands. That's how it started.
Okay. And you had a band called Too Much Texas, is that right? I mean, how far did you get?
Well, just going back to the early days, we used to do multi-track recording. We had like a reel-to-reel machine, we had a cassette machine, we found a way of bouncing tracks using that. And the thing about that is, when you can create, it's just like a really bad version of what the Beatles were doing in Abbey Road, when they were doing like Sgt. Pepper's. It's the same technology, really. That's a real kind of magic. It's a real thing. It's a real magic thing that you know with our vocals. We can put drum track down and put bass and stuff to it. And that magic of recording has never left me. I still think the whole process is really magic. And I think sometimes when people get into bands, they do recording and they get recording contracts, so kind of they lose out of love. They get removed from that love of just doing multi-track recording, which started in the 70s. Brothers. So what happened, I was in a load of bands at school from being quite young, probably about being 10 onwards. I was in a band with my mates in Oxford, and then I moved up to Manchester in 1982 to do an English degree at the Polytechnic, which is the Manchester Metropolitan University these days. But I did the first year. 3 of my mates moved up from Oxfordshire, and then we formed this band in Texas. And we can't have been too bad because we lived in Hume, which was the sole council estate where a lot of bands lived, and we recorded at the studio in the kitchen. Number 1 was album Animal Rights, which recorded there. Inspiral Carpets, but one of the versions of 96 Tears was recorded there in the studio. The studio ended up being a shebeen. It ended up being like a bit of a legal raid place. And we went there one night. We had this quite naive drummer called Lawrence, who's from Gloucester. He's quite posh, really. And we went to this shebeen, he came up to me and he said, "There's a guy on the door." He said, "The guy on the door's got a gun." I said, "Good." It's probably a good thing, really. So Too Much Texas, we played at the Boardwalk. We supported House of Love, supported The Beloved, supported Pastels. We supported. We got a job working at the Hacienda. We used to collect glasses at the Hacienda.
Yeah.
When was this? What around what year was that?
Maybe 94, 84. Sorry,
84. So right, a little bit before, like the acid house stuff all started to kick off, I guess.
Well, they were playing Detroit techno. I think they were playing acid house because it was kind of South was a bit behind, really. London was a bit behind. Places like Manchester and maybe Glasgow were playing house music. They were a bit before them, So we did a Peel session. Track played on Peel, and the band, and we supported Inspiral Carpets. Had a few gigs. We weren't as big as Inspirals. We can't have been awful because some support people.
Yeah. How much did you get involved with what the kind of the hacienda scene, and like you say, like the Detroit techno and the early acid house stuff? Were you raving with the rest of them?
I've always been into rock and roll, really. I mean, if you look at people out in Spiral Carpets, I think me and Clint more into the 50s doo-wop, maybe the early 60s stuff. Or it got to prog rockish, I think. I think all the band. There's very few bands that everyone in Inspiral's liked. I think we all like the Doors. I think the Doors are sort of bridging that gap between sort of early rock and roll and blues and getting a bit psychedelic, and in their own way they were quite anti-hippie as well. I think the Doors, they were a bit like Black Sabbath before Black Sabbath, because they were quite anti-hippie in a way, like Unknown Soldier, or remember the song's called 5 and 1 or 4 and 1. It's actually quite angsty. It's not all peace and love,
Yeah, a bit darker, right? Yeah,
it's brilliant. I love it. But to answer your question, I don't think I answered your question. So for the first time in this interview, I'm now going to try and answer your question. So what was your question? I can't remember. You asked about music.
just how involved you got with what was going on with the kind of rave culture in those early days.
It was a weird scene, the Hacienda, because it was, one night it'd be an indie night, and they'd be playing like the Wedding Presents, or they'd be playing on what Dave Haslam's night. They'd be playing Brian Eno 1 minute, they'd be playing Happy Mondays 1 minute, next minute they'd be playing Brian Eno. So it was more about the fact that it wasn't mainstream rather than it was grave or it was house music. It was more, or they'd be playing, the pop group. It was a long time ago, and it was more about what it didn't do rather than what it did do. So it was kind of like a biggest jukebox in the world. It's an eclectic jukebox, and one night they'd be playing techno, next night they'd be playing indie music, and indie music could be Talking Heads, it could be Blondie, it could be Brian Eno, it could be. So it was quite wide. It could be some, it could be Peaks.
That's
maybe,
interesting. I think that kind of nuance get lost in the narrative of the Hacienda usually, doesn't it? That's interesting to hear.
Well, I always say this thing about that's right. I mean, there's always say this thing about Hacienda, and it's no criticism. It was like a gay club, quite a big part of it. I think sometimes when people remember it, the rave culture, in retrospect, they kind of vanillarize it and make it a bit more mainstream and a bit more comfortable. It was like a gay club, Divine played there, and so it was, I think that was an interesting thing because it meant that there was a different music culture, drug culture, and I suppose women could go there without feeling like they might get bored by men. And initially, in the early period, it probably kept some of the gangsters out, and later on, when it became more of a mainstream druggy place, more of a dance place, maybe the gangs came in, and it kind of slightly changed its parameters.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what usually happens. So, how did the Inspiral Carpets gig come about? How did you end up joining the Inspirals?
Well, we'd done one single through Ugly Man, which is actually for Slade Black, Wonderful Life. So that red white label. Later on, I include an elbow, but the first record's out on Ugly Man and Brian Glancy. So what happened was we'd done one single with Guy Lovelady, who ran Ugly Man, and we didn't really want to finance another single. Well, I mean, we recorded another single. We didn't want to have to pay to manufacture and distribute it. I was in Piccadilly Records, which was in a big tower block at that time, some towers, and I found a copy of Inspiral's first 7-inch single, Plane Crash. I didn't buy it, but I should have bought it because they were only about 200 grand now, Steve Ball's on it. And I saw that the office in the label was on Princess Street, which was about 5 minutes walk away from Piccadilly Records. So I just went round. I just turned up at the spot. I went straight to Paul Greenwood around Playtime Records, which is a label. And I gave her a demo, and she liked the demo. It's probably the one to say I felt like she must have fancied as well, which I don't. I know that sounds like Alan Partridge to say it. I guess it makes a difference. Anyway. So then she said that she would have us on her label. So we supported them 2 or 3 gigs in Holiday together. We did an MSE in London. Somewhere else, because I asked where it was. And Stephen, their singer, about that at the end of 1988, he decided he didn't be in the band anymore. I think there was something to dynamics of maybe. It's a band that Graham and Clint. It's a band that Stephen and Graham started in 1982. Edging band, and they just used to play psychedelic songs when they first started off. And what happened was eventually Craig joined on bass rehearsal room that Clint had. One day Clint just bought his Farfee's room and his rehearsal. He never officially joined the band. Never officially joined the band. And what happened was, I think after a couple of years playing together, Stephen maybe, I don't know, sort of about it, because obviously he's a singer in Inspiral Carpets now and has been for the last 13 years, but I think he maybe felt that the band was becoming more Clint's band than it was his. So felt like going off and doing his own band, which he did. Bass player David Swift left, so Martin joined the band. I think he did 2 gigs with Stephen Holt singing, and then Stephen left, and then we auditioned Noel Gallagher, Mark, John, who was in the High, and one friend of Martin's. None of them were right for the band, and Noel wouldn't have been right. And I just, so what happened was, the night that they did The Other Side of Midnight, where they played without a singer, they just played direct to traffic. Tony Wilson said, "Oh, they're looking for a singer," but they actually, Anthony had already rung me up on that day saying, "Would you like to sing the band?" So I'd seen support, and so I did, and I went along, and they never told me I joined the band. And about 3 weeks later, we were recording Joe in the studio called Square One in Bury, and I came in the dressing room and they said, "There's something weird on your voice when you say the S word." I said, "Oh yeah, I've got a lisp." They said, "Bloody hell, we've got a lisp." I said, "Oh shit, 'cause I'm in the band now." So they never told me I was in the band. So then we had that great success through '89. They had done a lot of work originally with Stephen. It wasn't
okay. But I mean, you walked in kind of halfway through, like the first album being written and stuff like that. Was it hard to kind of fit in?
I wouldn't say that's really true. I mean, there's a couple of Uber fans who say that's true. I mean, Monkey on My Back, something Stephen saying.
So the album wasn't written at all, basically, you mean?
It's not that simple. I mean, I think people say, like, I think I'm not on that good terms with Inspiral Carpets at the moment. I don't really want to air that in this interview. I'm not really at the moment. But, they're not bad people. It's just the way we're ended up at the moment. But I think the first album, I'm just trying to literally, I'll tell you the songs that weren't written. That's what's great without.
Okay.
This is how it feels. It's not written as a song.
It's not written at all. Okay.
But Besides Me, I wrote. So that wasn't Sackville wasn't written. Monkey on My Back, Stephen sang that. Sun Don't Shine, Steve sang that originally. Trying to think what else is on it. Trying to think what else is on it. Have you got running order?
I can't very
good album, and I'll tell you, if you can get that up there, go through the whole album, and then we can cut that out.
We can do it.
There's been a bit of revisionism going on. Look, the band have done a lot of stuff, but it's complicated when bands in this nascent period. You just go through. I mean, the first song is Real Thing. They didn't do that.
I've got it. I've got it behind me. What am I doing? Looking on the.
Oh, don't worry. No, because
no. I've literally got it on the shelf behind me.
You're traipsing through my head, and that really is. What's your podcast called? It's called Stupid and what?
And Contagious.
Yeah,
we've got Real Thing. Okay, we've got Real Thing.
A good example of my brain. Real Thing is a song that Martin wrote. It wasn't written before I was in the band. What's the next song?
Song for a Family.
That's a song that Clint wrote while I was in the band.
This is How It Feels.
Wasn't done before I joined the band.
Directing Traffic.
That was a song they did with Steve. It was quite a different song when they did it with Steve. What's up with Steve?
Why is it spelled with a K at the end of Traffic? Anyway,
because there was a program called Direct Traffic, which was about illegal. It was about drug dealing and about illegal immigrants. Thank God, no one goes on about that anymore. And you keep on going. Directing Traffic. Directing Traffic was one they did with Steve. Keep on going.
Besides Me.
Well, I wrote that, so no.
Okay, Many Happy Returns.
Many Happy Returns. Don't think it was done with Steve because it's named after an episode of The Prisoner, and I don't think it was done with Steve. I don't think it was. Keep going.
All right, on to side 2. Memories of You.
Well, that's an instrumental, the Tramp singing on it, so it might have been some riff that they used, but it wasn't Steve, no.
She comes in the fall.
I think they started playing that one, but they never played it live. I think they were trying to play it, so they may have had a go at it. But I mean, She Comes in the Fall. It's about Rosemary's Baby. Graham wrote some lyrics for it, and the drumming Craig sort of borrowed from Cloudbursting. So no, I don't think they did it. They may have had a go at it in the studio, but they didn't do it with Steve. Yeah, keep going.
Monkey on My Back.
Definitely did that with Steve. Absolutely.
Sun Don't Shine.
That's 2 songs so far. 3, yes, I did that with Steve. Yeah, it's 3 songs. Keep going.
Inside My Head.
Yeah, they did do that with Steve. Yeah.
And last one, Sackville.
No. So is that 5 songs? So maybe I mean, when you say half
4,
yeah. When you say half,
3.5.
How many songs? Yeah. How many songs?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah.
Yeah, you see, so what happened is after Steve came back to the band, a couple of Uber fans started saying this about the album.
Right.
And it wasn't true. It wasn't true, really. And the thing is, it doesn't matter. We recorded a lot of B-sides that Steve had worked on because we did 4 singles in 1989. First off, Train Surfing Kate was released, which had Steve singing on it, and he's singing that. But then we did Joe. Joe is a song which Steve had sung before I joined the band, but the version of the song that Joe sang, that Steve sang, it's very different from the version that I sang because song there were 2 versions of Joe. One was recorded in the kitchen, and it has Craig narrating stuff about Joe in between the verses and the choruses, and it's sort of. I think Clint might say it himself. It's a brilliant song, and Clint wrote it, and I'm not saying it isn't, but it's quite reminiscent of New Face in Hell by The Fall. So that version of Joe is more like, I'm being really finicky here and petty.
It's good. It's all still good.
The original version of Joe it's very indie and very garage, and it's brilliant writing. It's brilliant content. Not necessarily that well produced, which is not criticism of it. But when we started doing Joe, Craig sort of made it more of a funky drummer beat. So like when we used to do Joe, the drums come in, we would play like the 8 bars of funky drummer beat, and then before the vocal came in, I'd shout Joe, so anticipate the beat coming in. So the whole expression of the bar and the beat is completely different from the version of Joe that I sang. And so that I know that sounds funny, but that completely changes the whole feel of the record. That's because I have such a funky approach to music.
All right.
That's not to put Stephen down. It's not to put Stephen down. Also,
it's just different. Yeah.
Play guitar. Yeah. So so what I'm saying is, was half the album written? Well, yeah, it was half the album was written, but when I joined the band, they didn't have a singer. Yeah. So
there you go.
Clint wanted to sing, but Clint's always been the star of Inspiral Carpets, which is cool. I don't have a problem with that. And he's gone off and done his own thing. For me, I don't think convincingly he could be this wonderful, charismatic keyboard player that people love and be a lead singer. I think you needed a lead singer.
Sure.
So keep on going. Now I've gone through that incredible bitter diatribe about. It's just
love it.
Love it. People had this kind of revisionist thing after I left the band, and they started saying,
it's good.
They started saying like, the album was in the bag when I joined the band. It's like, well, it wasn't really. And the other thing is, yes, I sang a lot of stuff that Steve sung really well. I did it in a completely different way, but I don't think, if they hadn't found a singer, then maybe the band would have split up or become something completely different. But I don't think it's true to say that half the album was written, because we were quite impatient as a band. We wanted to do something new. Anyway. You've got another question.
Set the record straight. That's good.
I've just come across really bitter. And
no, not at all, mate. You got to set the record straight. It's good.
Yeah.
So Life came out 1990, big year basically. This Is How It Feels, Top of the Pops, number 2, headlining Reading. I mean, were you surprised when it all started to kick off?
Not really, because I'm quite a narcissist and quite an egotist. So
you knew it was good.
Well, we used to, back in the 70s, I used to watch Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
And I used to watch Tyrannosaurus Rex on Top of the Pops, not T-Rex, what they became later. And used to go around our neighbour's house and pretend to be on Top of the Pops on my tennis rackets. And I think that in my house, we were probably quite privileged and, quite musical and quite unconventional. And I think that I felt like I could do whatever I wanted, and whatever I wanted to do probably happened. And I never wanted to do a job that had a kind of routine career path, like being in the police or being in the army or, being a quantity surveyor. So I kind of avoided doing that. And luckily, I was gifted enough at singing and performing. And at that time, I was nice looking, so you need all those things in order to be successful. So I don't think I ever really doubted it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, like, were you surprised that This Is How It Feels, that there was like the one to break through? It's a dark song, right? It's not an obvious kind of pop hit.
Well, sorry to go back to the previous discussion, but this thing about Inspiral, that they were great, before I joined them, and they changed quite a lot. Some people prefer the band as it was before I joined them, and that's cool, that's ace, it's no problem with that. But I think the thing is that when I joined the band, I was quite different from Stephen, and that's not for Stephen down. Steve is and was great, but I think maybe I was at that time a little bit less football-y, probably a little bit less overtly, well, not working class at all, but not sort of working class, sort of really quite masculine bloke. I'm a little bit more metrosexual as a bloke, and I think probably
you weren't even Mancunian.
Well, I never pretended I was, but but there's a story about that in a bit. We'll come back to that. But the point is, I had a different kind of voice, maybe more of a pop soul voice, and I think that Clint maybe wrote This Is How It Feels because he felt that he could extend the canvas that he could paint on when he was writing songs. So I'm not saying that was his muse, but I don't think if you'd looked at the other people who'd auditioned to be in that band, look at Noel or John. Or maybe Steve singing. I'm not being. This isn't being negative about, but I don't think they would have sung a song. This is how it feels to be lonely. This is how it feels to be small. This is how it feels when your words mean nothing at all. Because I think everyone would have felt it was a bit gay singing as a song. So I don't think it's so much that it's a non-hedonistic song. It's more that it's a vulnerable song, and I think I can sing songs like that. Of how I looked and how I was. I don't think he would have written that song. I don't think he would have brought it in if I hadn't singing in the band. So this is the thing about people saying, after this album was written, and I joined the band. It's completely untrue and a load of nonsense, really. And then the band were really good before I was in them. That's not to say that it wasn't. It's just not what I think happened.
Sure. Well, you've mentioned Noel a couple of times, and I know you get asked about him all the time, but we've been having this very, very long ongoing conversation on the podcast over many, many months about whether or not he's a complete wanker. And most people we speak to kind of tend to suggest that he's not such a nice guy. I mean, how did you find working with him?
It's a bit difficult. In a minute, my daughters are on a WhatsApp group.
I'm conscious you had headphones on, but
yeah, I may have. I don't know whether you can hear that or you can hear it. I might just put them on mute for 8 hours because it was But the thing about Noel is that I wrote a book called Carpet Burns.
Yes,
and I don't want you to think that this is some shameless plug for my book. If you want to buy it, it's from Tom Hingley Music.
Right. Plug away.
.bigcartel.com.
Sure.
But the thing about Noel is the thing is, over the years, probably I've been a bit rude about him. And actually, first off, that's not fair. And secondly, it's just going to make people think that you're embittered or even more embittered than you were or are. And like when they announced that Oasis were doing a reunion next year, I've made a point, not that it matters what I think, because I've gone through my periods of being a keyboard warrior, which is also pointed to it. But I've gone out my way, and I'm not about to change that, not to make any negative comments about it at all. Primarily because I know it's ironic saying in the middle of doing a podcast interview, it doesn't matter what I think about something. I genuinely mean that in a freeing way, moaning way. And I think if I sat here and I slagged them off, for every one person who might not care or might think that that's right, there'll be 99 people just being a prick. So I don't really want to roll myself in that.
Yes,
I think probably slightly different situation that maybe members of Inspirals had with Noel, or relationship that I had with Noel was two different things. Noel going off and becoming like one of the two most famous people in the country. It's a bit like being Pete Best in the Beatles. It's that kind of situation. So to say that it wasn't didn't change the way one look at the past and the present and future, I think would be unfair, because he was so fantastic and successful, and to try and make out that he wasn't, so he shouldn't have been, I think is ultimately very stupid. The second thing is, which is what my book Carpet Burns talks about, is that he auditioned to sing in the band. None of the rest of the band told me he auditioned to sing in the band when I joined the band. And knowledge is power in any organisation, and knowledge is power in a band, because Noel knew should sing the band, and like Martin, Craig, and Graham knew he'd auditioned to sing the band. And if I'd known that, I wouldn't have let him be a roadie for 4 years, because I wouldn't have been comfortable with that. But they never told me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I only found out when he ceased working for us. Now that creates 3 or 4 different outcomes, because the first thing is I was only going to get on better with him, because I didn't go on with him at all from the outset, because he was trying to get the job I didn't get quite naturally for, and I didn't know. And the other thing was that he's really gifted and he's really talented. I'm not trying to say that he isn't. I think you understand from where I've spoken already. I'm not trying to shit stuff about Noel. I'm not. But the thing about Noel is I think he resented that situation. So he then used it as a way of using all his talents and focusing all that disappointment and aggression around making sure that it never happened again, and he was going to be the centre point of every attention after that. And so my relationship probably got better with him over time, because I didn't know why my relationship with him was so bad to start off with. And also because I'm not an overtly aggressive, very kind of masculine man, because I'm not. And sometimes people want to go at me for that. It's like, well, tell me something I don't know. Don't need someone to tell me. Don't need a mirror to hold up over the mirror that I've already got in front of my face. I don't need. So I think the relationship with him got worse between band as it went on. And there were some occasions where I am quite difficult to get on. I am quite difficult to get on with. I can be a pain in the arse, and I acknowledge that. That doesn't give me a license to be that. It can be difficult. I can be hard to handle. You show me a lead singer in any band that hasn't got a few layers of skin missing. Whoever they are.
Yeah, sure.
And so there was a couple of occasions. There was one occasion where we had a tour manager called Andrew Manson, who later went on to manage Jacks. On one occasion, we were supposed to be flying to Japan, and the rest of the band decided to wind me up by saying you couldn't make it because he was ill or something. And eventually, it turned out that it was a wine, and Craig hit me. It doesn't really matter, But I now think, did they do that because they wanted me to walk out of the band so they could get Noel singing? So I think that kind of.
And this is not long after you started, or
no, we're talking like 2 albums in or something. So there was.
Oh right, okay. Even
so I didn't know
at that point.
I didn't know that he auditioned to sing in the band.
So
but what I'd say to that as well is that Noel was my book goes through this. I wrote this book, and then some people came on and said, I'm really embittered, and I made all this stuff up. Like, well, fucking that, even bored.
Close
12 years after the thing. I mean, everyone's got a right to their own story. My story doesn't fit anyone else's story, and you don't have to agree with it, but it's my story. And, I'll give you an example about that, and we'll get back to the Noel thing again. When we did I Want You with Martin Smith.
I wanted to ask about that. I love that.
Well, we've come on to it. We were supposed to sing. We sang Saturn 5, and it's only me and Clint in the studio on Saturday. Mark. I said to Mark, I think you should sing I Want You, because I think it might be a better track for you to sing. And Clint wasn't against it. But I kind of Clint maybe didn't push for him to sing I Want You because he didn't write it. And I'm just being honest about it. So anyway, he recorded. So he recorded it. So anyway, you scroll forward 20 years, you're on like a full bulletin board saying, I hate that version of I Want You with Tom Hingley on it. He's awful, and the track with Mark is much better than Mark on it. Well, fair enough, but it wouldn't fucking exist if it wasn't for me. That's how revisionise history. And it doesn't matter. It's just like, so you're not going to go on there and start saying, well, actually, it wouldn't exist if I was there. But it's just people have got these big opinions about stuff that fuck all about, really, and that's what you're like. So going back to the Noel thing, I think that he learned a lot. He had his own musical brilliance and his own musical intelligence, and he had this fantastic ability to say things that publicity ready.
Right.
So he used to, sometimes if one of the band didn't want to do photo in some gig abroad, he'd just stand in someone out of the band. So all these photo libraries are probably in landfill somewhere, but in Estonia there's probably some pictures in Inspiral Carpets with Noel being Clint, Noel being me.
Right.
So it's a bit of a sort of tryout for him as to go on and do much bigger and better things. So I'm not being
Do you think has he ever fully acknowledged the role that the Inspiral Carpets played in it?
I wouldn't know that because again, God, I have to be so careful how I say this because I'm invisible. I don't pay any attention to anything they ever say, anything about anything, and it's like,
right.
They're a great band. I'm really glad. I'm really pleased they're playing. I think initially when the band kicked off, they were really quite rude about us. That's because they had to create some separation between the fact that he was an employee and then went off to be like one of the biggest rock and rollers in all history. So I think that's understandable. So I think Noel, I don't know what would have happened. You see, he couldn't really have learned all the stuff he did working for the Stone Roses, because the Stone Roses were a much better band than Inspiral Carpets. I think they were better looking and the music's more mythic. But I think they did have some quite big egos in the band, and I don't think they could have. I don't think they would have enough oxygen to be able to accommodate Noel as well.
I think you're right.
His friend with their roadies. Happy Mondays, fantastic band, best gig I've ever seen. I'm playing in Free Trade Hall. Their manager Nathan McGough dragged me and my ex-wife in through the stage tour at Free Trade Hall. Only half the people had paid in. There was ganja smoke everywhere. Jam MC supported them. And when they came on stage, you couldn't see the band. All you could see was a mixture of ganja smoke and dry ice. These little bleeping things at the back of the stage. So, but you couldn't work for Happy Mondays because a couple of them were smackheads at that time. Sorry. Yeah. So he could have become a smackhead. So he couldn't really work for them. So working for us was quite a clever thing to do because we were quite entrepreneurial. I don't think we were necessarily as good a band, but I think we so this kind of schism developed between Happy Mondays and Clint, because Clint viewed with John Robb in sounds, and Clint said, "I really like Happy Mondays because they're a great band and they look like a gang and Holton, and you just get that feeling that they're dead raw." And they, haven't been to music college. So, of course, the sub-editor, after John Robb had written it, they like to stir up shit between bands as a way of selling papers without actually having to do any work at all. So the sub-editor just changed it to say Clint said they can't play their instruments. We should never. So then this kind of war, it's like 10 pathetic war developed between Happy Mondays and Spirals. And there was a point to this, which I've now lost the point of why I was saying it. But so Noel was working in our office, and Record Mirror sent this questionnaire through, which was trying to keep this war going. And so Noel filled it in as Clint, and they said, "What's your favourite Happy Mondays track?" So Noel, acting as Clint, wrote "God's Cop Smacker remix." So then, Sean started saying he was going to have Clint beaten up, and actually I went to, it's all in my book, went to go and see him play at Wembley Arena, and I went backstage, I talked to Sean, I said, Clint didn't like that, do you? He said, yeah, he did. I said, no, he didn't. I said, I'm not going to tell you he did, because he already was, and I wasn't really trying to drop him in. He said he did. I said, well, then let's go outside and have a fight about it. She pointed back down and became really nice. And because it wasn't real, it sandbags at all, and it wasn't real. I'm a coward, I'm not tough, but it just wasn't real. And so Noel created that shitstorm when he was working for us. He learned how to be really good at publicity. Maybe he always was. He learned something else, and he took it. He liked the music, he took it a million times. So I'm not going to slag Noel off. I think it'll make some people who think I'm okay. It'll make some people think I'm a wanker. It'll make some
to be fair, we asked the question to sort of
it's completely helpful.
But it'll make some people who think I'm a wanker think I'm a bigger wanker.
But we want you to know we ask anyone that has ever had any kind of contact.
Yeah, we're just trying to
the same thing. It's not just you that we ask a question to.
It's difficult for Noel because I think he, I mean, like in the same way that a cigarette filter removes some of the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, or whatever it is out of a cigarette. Noel was our drug filter for about 3 or 4 years. He was at Class A drugs. He just took them. So when he got into the band, what he really wanted to do, he used some of the resentment he had for not getting into our band as fuel for doing that, as well as his brilliance. I think he took a load of drugs for about 5 years. I don't think he can actually remember all the time, like 4 or 5, probably, and that's a shame because one person he can't remember is amazing by changing events is the person who's at past. I don't think him and Liam. I think they get on. I don't think that's.
You think the fight is fabricated? Do you think they're mates?
I don't think it's fabricated. I think there is a competitive edge in them, but I don't think Oasis would be much about it. No,
of course, no.
You need to make a fire. You need some combustible material, and you need a match, don't you? So
absolutely.
On the other is a match. You said it. We need one another, don't we?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
The song goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the band split up in '95. I mean, were you ready to end it?
We didn't really split up. It's just that Noel and Graham and Clinton really want to continue with the band, and it's very much Graham's band. And it was a bit of an uphill struggle. I think the relationships with people under a bit of strain at that time. I probably didn't help with that very much. And I wanted to keep going because I would always try and play music if I could. And I had 3 children under the age of 4, so I mean, it was quite a tough struggle for me personally. I don't think it was any less struggle for anyone else. And so I think I resented that a little bit, but it was probably. Don't know when we split up. We just decided to create hiatus. We lost our record. I mean, I quite like being peripatetic. I think if we spent, I don't think this would have been the right thing to do. I'm not saying that it wasn't the right thing to put the band on hiatus. But we could have bought a great big van and just gone and done loads of festivals like the Levelers. You could have done that for 2 years and probably £5 million doing it. But James didn't want to do that, and that's maybe great. That's fair enough.
It was just like Britpop was kicking off as well, right? I think you would have been quite a good kind of transition band between the kind of the baggy and the Britpop stuff, right? Because you had that 60s kind of thing going on that a lot of Britpop bands did. That the other kind of Madchester bands didn't have that. I think you would have done well in Britpop.
I think we were a bit creatively empty at that point. And the other thing was, if you look at, we were signed to Neds.
Yeah.
And I think they wouldn't say it now, and Neds doesn't exist now in the way it did. Although it's a great label and great people. I think there were at least a couple of that label were absolutely fucking furious. We had the ability to sign the label. I think there were a few people angry that had to sign Oasis. Some problems with us going forward as a band. It's like, like had Bob Dylan, working for him and didn't bring to our business, and I think that caused, and obviously they kind of they revolutionised the industry, I think. Oasis. And so there's something like, no, but at the end of the day, if you make records and they don't sell enough, label can't keep going.
Even a supposedly cool independent label like Mute, who were like, one of the original kind of indie labels, right?
I mean, Mute were great. They're a great label. I'm really excited even now about the fact that we were on Mute versions 1. But there's a whole thing in my book about this, the book Carpenter and some of that strategy. I said we went for a meeting with Daniel. Each record sold less, and this is the reality of what really happened. And went for business meetings. About business meetings is it went from meals to a business meeting. And you just can't drink in business meetings. And I said to the rest of the band, I think they will probably want to do a greatest hits, in which case they'll drop us. They won't offer us in advance for a new record. So we don't really want, if we go for this business meeting, we don't really want to say we want to do a greatest hits. So anyway, so we got to the meeting. So we got to the meeting and Craig said, I think Craig said, I think we ought to do a greatest hits. So it's like, from that moment on, it's like, okay. So anyway, so within about a month, we dropped this because they didn't need to have a sign. I'm not knocking Craig. It's what he thought we ought to do. So anyway, so then we went back to them. We were a bit short of money at that time, and they wanted us to greatest hits. And again, this very much came from me. Maybe it wasn't the right decision. I'm not saying it was, And we said to them, look, we're like 30 grand short of some stuff we need to pay. If you can lend us 30 grand, then we can support the greatest hits. They said, no, fuck off. It's all. So we said, right, well, we're not going to promote the greatest hits. So we didn't promote it. And so we split up.
There you go.
We split up, and we didn't promote it. And that's why that first kind of was cool. The single. And it had like a cover on it, and the cover on it was the logo on it looked like the Oasis logo. Because the Oasis logo.
Oh yeah. I saw that. Yeah,
like water going down like water.
Yeah, like a whirlpool kind of thing, right?
So they took the cow and they distorted it. They wanted to call it cow. That's what I call music. And I said, well, that shit to everyone. And so anyway, so the record came out. The name of the person who did the artwork on it was bigger than our name. The back of the record, and the running order was wrong on the back of the record. Running order on the disc was different.
No effort, right. Yeah.
So we didn't support it. I mean, I'm saying I said we just shouldn't support it, and in retrospect, the rest of the inspirers might have thought that was a mistake, and they might be right. So I'm not telling you this spirit that I was right about.
Yeah. And when you got back together in the early 2000s, was that better? I mean, was there kind of less pressure and stuff like that? Was that?
Not really. The reason we got back together is that we owned our early recordings. I mean, this isn't very artistic. It's just very hard-nosed commercial. We owned our first singles like Joe and Move and Find Out Why. And when you signed us in '89, I wouldn't let them take the sound recording. They only licensed them, which meant we retained the ownership of the sound recordings and videos. Those licenses only lasted 10 years, 5 years. So if they wanted to put the singles compilation out, they had to relicense them. So they had to pay us some money to relicense them. So I'm clever like that, because I realised it might be a hostage to fortune in the future. So they wanted to do a new version of single compilation, one that we would support by promoting it. So we negotiated new licenses for those early songs and the early videos, and so it was a way of repackaging that record, and we got a cover on it that we liked. I think the package was quite good with it. But the trouble is, I'm just talking personally, I'd felt a bit let down in '95 when the rest of the band didn't want to continue, and it actually took me probably about 3 months to agree to do the gigs in 2003, because I didn't want to be in a situation again where threw my heart into doing this project, and then somebody said, we don't want to do it again for another 8 years. So I was a little bit wary, because I'd had to, as we all had to do in '95. I, at that time, was married to my first wife, and her business went bust in '98 after the Manchester bomb, because she made clothes. And so from sort of in '95, I started up a clothes shop in Affleck's Palace called Mad Dog. But I also went to go and work at a cat phones, because my wife's business was making, my ex-wife's business was making money, and we needed to pay the mortgage. So basically, their decision not to continue the band. Well, I mean, it was probably the right decision back in '95, but I'd had to do a lot of stuff just to keep going. And I didn't really want to have to stop doing all the other stuff I'd had to do in order to go back in the band, not with the full knowledge about how much work there would actually be. And I know it sounds terribly selfish. So it took me about 3 months. It took about 3 months for me to do gigs. Gigs were good fun. But that time, sort of middle-aged people, it's a totally different thing when you come back. I'm a bit argumentative. We did a gig at the Apollo. I can't remember it was that year, in Manchester, and they wanted Sean Ryder to come on and guest. I don't know whether it was 2003 or 2005. I can't remember anyway. And I said to him, well, look, it's all right getting Sean on, but he had quite bad stage fright at that time. And he'd fallen out with the rest of Happy Mondays over something that I'm not going to go into. and that included falling out with his brother Paul, who's now deceased, and falling out with his dad, who is also now deceased. He had patched those relationships up. And I said to maybe Clint, I said, look, it's all right to bring Sean on. You'll have to bring him on at the end of the gig because he's got stage fright and he hadn't played for a while. Once you get him on stage, he's not going to want to get off stage again.
Yeah, that's true.
So he came up and we did like a bit of Commercial Rain and did the medley of Happy Monday stuff. And then it's like, so we haven't played this is how it feels. And Sean's saying to Clint, I want to sing how it feels. And I said, look, that's my song. It's not the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he went off. And it was brilliant that he came on. And Sean Ryan said,
yeah.
I toured the Black Grape last year. I'm not so things like that are not necessarily, and I'm not saying I'm being reasonable, I'm saying that's who I was and what I was at that time. So there was always this thing about the band only really tours when Graham and Clint on a tour, and that's it's their band, it's not my band. So I couldn't really ever put my heart in it 100% like I used to because it probably wasn't the right decision to keep going in '95, and I'd gone through quite a difficult time, which we all did. That created some kind of resentment in me, which meant I could never really give my heart to it 100% ever again. So I wasn't sure it's not touring. I'm just great.
That makes sense.
That's not a criticism. And the other thing is, slight difference maybe between the rest of the band and me, which is entirely to do with me, is that I'm originally from Oxford, so I moved 108 miles up to Manchester. I didn't have any natural network of friends or family up there. So to suddenly be sort of thrown, I'm not blaming them for it, to be thrown into kind of unemployment because someone else decided they didn't want to do something. It's completely reasonable. Well, it's completely reasonable they didn't want to do it. That would have a different output on me than it would be to them.
Yeah, with that support network.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I'll try and be a bit more positive in the answer to your other questions.
All right. Well,
negative.
We'll ask you a couple of questions.
It's honest.
I've had a really great life. I've been very, very lucky, and we've had our disagreements. I'm not particularly on speaking terms with them, but I love the time I spent with them, and I think they're great people. So
that's
the difficulties that we currently have with business problems. It's not to do with whether it's to do with the quantity of what they're like as people. It was a wonderful 23-year long toboggan ride I had with them. It's like the best circus ride you should ever go on. I mean that in a positive way. I mean a circus ride where you go on to see the stars in your life flash in front of you, not a circus ride where you lose a limb.
Sure. And I was listening to your most recent solo album, The Grand Mal. On the first track, you sing, you don't worry about fame and money anymore. Is that true?
Well, the line is, I used to worry about fame. Used to worry about money. Used to worry about fame, which itself is a bit of a confessional thing. Then I said I just worry about everything else instead.
Sure, which is a great line. Yeah.
No, but I think it's just that song is about fate. It's about to what degree. So I hope I'm answering your question.
Yeah, go on.
It's about fate. It's about the fact that you can only control so much of what goes on. And the album is a lockdown album. It's an album about going nuts, having a nervous breakdown, lockdown. And maybe some of that is because you couldn't get out and socialise with other people. That's a positive. Maybe something that you can't feed your id through being a performer, people blowing smoke rings up your arsehole. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have to be fenced in a little bit and have to face your demons and your angels and work out how you should live your life. I think.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Okay, Neil, do you want to ask the final question?
Yeah. We asked this question to everyone we have on. If you could have been in any other band from the 90s, which band would it have been and why?
No, I wouldn't have been in any other band because, one of the things I've always found quite funny in the small hours as a little amusing thought is that there were sometimes where I wake up in the middle of the night, I thought, like Noel went on to be so respected and successful and revered and loved, which I think he deserves all of it. I didn't think I was in a bad band. I was in a better band than him. And I used to think that years ago. I still think it now. So it wouldn't have been any other band I wanted to be in because, the only thing that's ever come close to it was about 2 years ago. I went on stage and I sang 3 songs for the Blockheads. And just playing with them, it was like being carried. The band were like being carried. It's like being carried around on this magic carpet, bath chair, and playing with them. I mean, the guitarist used to play with Talk. The drummer,
I love Talk.
The bass player is actually Mark King's brother, who plays bass in Level 42. Mickey Gallagher was in the Animals when he was in the Animals from 1963 onwards when his name left. I mean, Chas Jankel's a musical genius. I mean, Quincy Jones covered a song that he wrote about a Japanese movie. and so, so it was a bit like playing with the Sex Pistols. And the Jimi Hendrix Experience and Earth, Wind and Fire. So, I mean, that was a pretty amazing experience. But no, and I did say to them, when we did that gig at the Apollo, for sure, the rest of the band were sort of saying like, "Oh, it's great playing with them." And I'd say this isn't to put them down, but I said to them, "What about it? It's a privilege to play with you. You were really amazing. So lucky that he played with you." And so, which was the right thing to say. I mean, as a band, it's the right thing to say. But I meant it, and no. Well, why would I want to be in any other band? We reached such terrific heights, and we reached some pretty terrific lows. We used to do that together, and now we do that separately. I wouldn't change any part of it. I mean, if I could change some of the upset and distemper that I had caused, I'd probably try and do something about that. Just because you would always want the part to be smoother for other people.
Yeah, but we're all human. That just happens. Yeah, that's just.
Well, there's still great love and affection for that band. And which they're doing sell out shows all over the place. Not convinced it's the same band. They did play the G Mexico, to me. But that it's the audience decides. You can plump yourself up as much as you want, like a peacock. At the end of the day, it's the audience decides whether it's any good or not. But no, I wouldn't want to be in any other band.
All right.
That's a great
where's the best place for people to keep up with what you're up to? You seem quite active on the socials and everything like that.
I think probably Crime Watch would be the place to keep up. Yeah, maybe some government select committee on the price of potatoes. It's another good place to pick up. No, I've got a website. It's not very up to date. It's tomhingley.co.uk. We've got you can find out gigs in places like Spotify. Bands Bands in Town. I can never remember. Yeah, Bands in Town. So tomhingley.co.uk. I'm on Twitter, Tom Hingley Music. I'm on Instagram, Tom Hingley Music. I'm on Twitter, Tom Hingley Music. It's not. Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing as many gigs as I used to on first appearances. But I mean, I don't think it's ever going to go back to being like that post-COVID. So I am around the place, but we're doing just trying to think about some gigs we've got coming up. We're playing at the Burton Lane Club in York the 8th of February, and we're playing a gig 27th of March. I can't remember where it was.
All right, well, people can get fine.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much. I hope it was interesting.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for giving us so much time. I know you're very busy.
I don't think Noel is a wanker. I think it's going to be quite difficult.
It didn't come across as you did. Like I say, we just got this sort of ongoing thing on the podcast.
It's almost like a running joke not a joke. It's a running thing on the podcast where anyone that's had any kind of contact with him, we ask them basically. It's almost like a ledger basically he's definitely on the wanker side in the ledger so far. So you kind of moved him back towards the other side. So there you go.
I think it was interesting that there was this big move within their management or the management of the two brothers to make sure that Liam was seen as being more successful than he had been considered previously before they announced the reunion together. Before, I think Liam is a star, and the one funny thing about Noel was it's a little bit of a joke in my book that because I didn't know that he tried to audition to sing in the band, and it was kept from me until after we had to get rid of him. About 1996, I did like a benefit for the Dockers, a club in London, and he was playing and I was playing, and Noel had never been that. He'd never really treated me as if I was in a band or with any deference, which I didn't expect him to. So anyway, so we're backstage at this club in 1996. And I went up to him. I said, "What have you been up to?" He got really angry. So,
that's a good line, man.
It's absolutely brilliant because he'd never shown me any deference when I was in the band. So what on earth would I show him any deference now? And I think if you read my book, you'd find it's really funny because it's very honest.
Right.
Yeah. I'd rather have been in a band that helped even one little bit for someone to go on and be something like a million times more successful than not to have been in that situation. But I don't think no one made him stand at the side of the stage for 350 gigs. He wanted to stand at the stage for 350 gigs.
Yeah, of course.
Watch a band that even he didn't get into. And I do mean it. I do occasionally wake up and like, I'm not in the band and I haven't played in the band for 16 years. I do think it's a better band. And I think you can find a reason for me saying that would be insulting to the rest of the band. I don't think you'd say that. And I think, however much Noel did or didn't enjoy his 5-year toboggan ride journey with us, I think he knows even the cold, quiet secret of the night that we were a better band than the rest.
There you go.
I think the original iteration of the band was the best version.
So do I.
And as that back, because like drummer was very rudimentary. I think Bonehead is a great musician. It's great that he's playing next year. But I think every time they replace one of the original members with someone who could play 64 on the wing nut, I think the less interesting they became as a band.
We were talking about this exact point a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. Yeah.
The first two albums, the vocals and the guitar are foreground because that's what it needed. And people always say like Ringo and the Beatles. Wasn't good actually. I watched a tiny little bit of that Get Back program where Ringo sat down in the studio and started playing.
Oh, he's great.
Chaz on the piano. He's an absolutely amazing musician, and every band needs a Ringo. Every band needs someone who's just there to be more normal, to let the other people shine. And I think I'm not convinced I like that many tracks that they did after Tony McCarroll wasn't in the band anymore.
I clocked out after definitely maybe.
But that, to have had a 10th career that they had on any of those records, I'd be clawing up a rock face to have that kind of success. So it's more about chronology and look, the band I was in was really good before I joined it. It was very cool with very northern garage way, but they hadn't written half the album. We burnt those tracks on B-sides. A lot of those tracks on B-sides. And I'll tell you a story and then we get off. We did the first 4 singles since I joined the issue of Train Surfing. Joe found out why he moved. And we signed to Mute. But before we signed to Mute, Rough Trade said, we want to do this record compilation of the first 3 or 4 singles to put out in Europe, and it's going to be cool. And we got to the point where the album was cut together as a compilation, as a sound, as a vinyl, and a CD compilation. And Graham used to work at printers, was doing the artwork, so he used to do the artwork. And I suddenly said to Graham, Christ, Rough Trade are just trying to rob a first album of us without paying us in advance. And we realised actually this product that they were saying that was just to bring people up to date was actually de facto an album. We weren't getting paid in advance, which would fuck up the first album. We had to stop that being released. Let's say, no, we're not doing it. And that is how critical and complicated managing a band is, because afterwards people think that you were I don't mean you guys, but people who were successful was just by the grace of God. That's the way that the feather flew down through the sky. In actual fact, you had to actually stop various things happening. Wouldn't have been a good idea. So putting a poorly promoted record out as a cash-in, so Rough Trade could make a quick $100,000 out of something, wouldn't have been the right thing to do. And and the number of bands where when they finally had some success, 3 records that have been done previously got released at the same time. Amount, you had this first big hit, and then Where's White Socks and 2 other albums that you'd called where it wasn't on the label for it. Suddenly Rush released all these old records. So controlling the release of what you do is actually a lot more complex, and people's perception of it. So when I joined Blue Sky recently as a social platform, and of course I started off my vanity searching platform. I've got about 32 followers on there. I'm pretty powerful with Blue Sky.
We're on Blue Sky,
and
we're on Blue Sky.
Come and join us, man. But I vanity searched. This one person said, "I went to go and see Tom play in the bar." They said, and I'm not knocking them, but they were saying like, yeah, he was out there after the gig, like, selling his CDs. It was really sad. It just kind of made me laugh a little bit, because there's this thing in Britain where bands don't sell their own merchandise. But, you know, my wife Kelly works for Musicians Union. She went to see Vampire Weekend. They've been playing it in the city about 20 years ago, and they were signed to like the major label. They played in the Roadhouse, and then they came out afterwards. They sold their CDs, and I think there's a really weird psychology about bands that, because obviously Britain's such a powerhouse for culture and music, and Jimi Hendrix had to come here to become successful in America, and Bob Marley had to come here to become successful around the world. The Fugees had to come here to become successful around the world. Justin Bieber had to come here, and all that. But because there were 2 or 3 bands who reached such critical commercial and artistic success, they could literally do anything they wanted. And those bands, and you'll probably think of someone else, the 3 bands I think of are Beatles, Pink Floyd, and Radiohead. Those 3 bands, and I'm talking about the UK, because those 3 bands reached commercial and artistic success where they could do whatever they wanted. Somehow, the blueprint for young bands to start up, well, we're not going to sell our own merchandise because we're going to be a Radiohead, Pink Floyd, or a Beatles.
Right, we're going to be rock stars.
Bands, the only bands, and it's not. I don't think that's also true. I don't think it's true of Oasis. You know, they came pretty close to it. But they're Beatles, Radiohead. You know, if Radiohead did an album, it's a sound people put. This isn't to knock them. It's a fantastic band. But if they did an album with people putting money in party vehicles, you get to one. They might not do it a second time. The remix might not get there, but what I'm saying is, you can't judge your career as a band. Should we sell merchandise gigs on the basis of 3 bands?
Of course,
out of 3 billion bands. There's a couple of bands from Europe and America don't have that cultural cringe. You can go and see a band like Midlake, who are really great. They come out after the gig and they sell merchandise. You know, there's a singer I like. There's a Kiwi singer called Reb Fountain, woman Becca Fountain, and she's a bit like PJ Harvey or Nick Cave. She comes out on gigs, so I don't think there is anything sad about connecting with your audience, attending.
Of course, there's not.
Headlining, you know, it's some enormous gig and just connecting with your audience. So if people think it's sad, then that's okay. But I don't think it is, because you know what? I was in a fantastic band. It wasn't Radiohead, it wasn't Pink Floyd, but its own little way. It was its own little Radiohead, its own Pink Floyd, and I was in it, and various other people weren't.
There we go.
That's it. That's it.
All right. That's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for your time.
You.
Really appreciate it.
Time out.
Have a nice Christmas.
No,
good.
Don't good.
Okay.
All right. We'll leave you to your coffee. Thanks, mate.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Ciao.
See you later, sheep.
Why did I say ciao at the end?
That was so fucking weird.
What?
You're saying ciao at the end. Why'd you do that? Never done it before. You've never said it. I liked it though.
What am I going to do?
I liked it.
Rid of that.
I liked it. It's really good.
Okay. Tom Hingley from Inspiral Carpets. Dave, you enjoy that one? Funny guy, right? Dry sense of humour. I like that. I like people with dry senses of humour.
Yeah, I could call it unique, that interview.
Yeah.
Unique in the sense that it's probably gone on the longest after sort of officially ending.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. It's a good 20 minutes afterwards, after we've asked that final question.
He had stuff to say, clear up.
You know, he took time out of his. He was shopping with his daughters, I think, when we zoomed in. So his daughters were sitting. They were well behaved, weren't they?
They were. Didn't. No. Yeah, he was in a cafe basically. So it was very generous of him with his time, and interesting one, right? Interesting one.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I think we knew the kind of person we were getting when we asked. I think he said, "How are the gigs going?" He said, "Some are good and some are bloody awful."
Yes, that was a good start.
Yeah, it's just
got to admire that honesty, right?
I did like that earlier on. He spoke a bit about the magic of recording it. He sounded to be really a big fan of the whole recording process. But back in the day where you sort of recorded to tape, that kind of got me thinking, do you think that, modern music's more throwaway, isn't it? With modern recording techniques, you could just like record and go, I don't like that, I'd do it again. Back then, it's tape is money, every time you recorded something, it was. Do you think it had to be more intentional the way people recorded back? Well, it did have to be more intentional. Do you think that changed the way people wrote songs or recorded songs?
Yeah, you had to be more ready before you went for the recording, right? You had to. And now you can probably just do. I don't know if this is true, but you could probably do tiny bits at a time, and then
you can. I mean, you could kind of do that back then, but it was a much different process. But I think people probably just add more stuff than they need to now, just because they can.
Have you seen the Band-Aid documentary?
Yeah, it's good.
How they record. That really shows how painstaking it was.
Yeah.
To record something.
Have you seen that, Luke?
Quite good in that way.
Oh, I don't think I have. No.
It's good. It's on iPlayer.
I watched the We Are the World one. I didn't watch the Band-Aid. It's on iPlayer.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one as well.
It's quite good.
Yeah, I like that one.
There's a bit on it. There's a bit on it that's really like Spinal Tap. I think it's when Status Quo are doing their bit. It's quite funny.
Brilliant. Double denim all the way, baby.
Yeah, this was at the height of like 80s indulgence, and all the rock stars are all there, like out rock starring each other. It was all that.
Yeah.
Probably the most impressive vocally was Boy George. He just nailed it.
Boy George was good.
Didn't he?
George Michael was really good.
And George Michael, yeah.
Yeah, you could really
tell. I'll watch that.
How do we approach the album half-written debate?
Let's talk about it.
I was going to say, like...
I really felt for him in that, when he was talking about that. Go on, Neil, sorry.
No, you carry on. I was just going to say that we couldn't have got a more definitive answer. We went through the whole album. And, so we know.
Yeah.
So we know exactly.
And it was about half, right?
It was about half in the end. It wasn't. Yeah.
But I completely understand what, how it was annoying for him because, just because someone's written a song and they bring it to a band, there's a lot more that goes into that song. Before
I think he was right
on the record.
And like and he was saying like all the B-sides that come along with releasing singles, like, they were all not written and they're, back then you had 3 or 4 songs on a single, didn't you? So
not at that stage. I think that came a bit later, but not in the early 90s. It's released a 7-inch or whatever. But
I think he was probably right in what he was saying. Like the purists sort of imply that he just walked in on a ready-made album, didn't it, and just put his vocals on it, but that just wasn't the case.
And I think he's got he's fairly strong argument that his vocals are kind of what make the difference, right? So
yeah. Which brings me on to another point I've got. Where do you think that the songwriters do sort of write songs that they know is going to suit the vocalist? I'm not sure they do really, because he was saying that like some of the songs that Clint wrote, he perhaps wouldn't have written if it was a different singer. But I don't know.
I think they totally do.
Do you think?
Yeah, completely.
What do you say, Dave?
Bernie Taupin does, doesn't he? He has to write exactly for Elton's voice.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. He's a fucking nut job, Elton John.
Oh, I think they do completely. Yeah.
Well, you think that they'd scrap a song? Think, that's not going to work with his vocal. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like Oasis. There's a few Oasis songs where Noel takes the lead, right? And it was definitely the right decision, right?
It was, yeah. I've heard, what was it? I was watching a documentary where they showed Liam's vocal on one of the songs that Noel ended up singing. And it really didn't work. And I love Liam's vocal, but it really didn't. It just didn't work. I think it might have been...
Don't Look Back in Anger.
Yeah, I think it might have been that one. Yeah, it just didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it with Liam singing, and it wouldn't be as good. So I think people do. Yeah, completely.
I hate that song.
You hate that song?
Yes. Just have a pet hatred of that song.
I think it was as rudimentary as Noel said, well, I've got these 2 songs left. I want to sing one of them. So you choose which one you want to sing. And I think Liam wanted to sing Don't Look Back in Anger, but he ended up, I was like, nah, I'm singing that one.
In the Beatles, they all sang their own songs, didn't they?
They sing their own ones. Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah. Which
Ringo
is interesting, right?
Octopus's Garden.
Yeah. Yeah, it does it well, man. It's great.
It's all right. Yeah.
Do you know they're a real thing, octopus's gardens?
Yes, that's right.
What the fuck is that, man?
Like octopuses, they kind of they collect like magpies. They collect stuff from like the sea, and they make like little gardens that they
got lawnmowers
outside their houses. They got lawnmowers, sheds, gnomes, a lot.
They're freakishly
I like the image,
aren't they?
Apparently, some of them can predict like World Cup games and shit. Right? What's that octopus? Wasn't it?
I don't like the way they move. I saw one fit into a tiny hole like that, and it was about this big. Slid into this hole.
People love to eat them over here. Can't be doing with it.
Oh God, no.
Takoyaki, not for me. Not for me.
Just the legs or the actual middle bit?
The whole thing. Yeah.
Oh no.
Even the ink?
No.
Of course. Well, people, squid ink pasta and stuff, right? Oh, squid, octopus ink. I don't know.
Is that what they put in pens?
Yeah. What else do they use?
That's why vegetarians can't use pens.
I know. I really enjoyed the Hacienda chat. They were glass collectors at the Hacienda. That's brilliant, man.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
84, I think he said that.
But it was interesting. He talked about the variation of it. They had an indie night. It was a centre of gay culture. That's so cool. What's that, Dave?
The eclectic jukebox. He described it.
Yeah, that's right. That's what he said.
Great.
It's just
like
great. And he also kind of, because you sort of said, it's a bit sort of pre the acid. And he's like, no, because, the North has always been ahead of the South in music, hasn't it? And he said there was a bit of that creeping in already.
Well, I mean, Terry Christian made that same argument, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that was it. But yeah, it must have just, A, he worked in the Hacienda, and B, his band supported like the Beloved in House of Love and all that those sort of acts.
Yeah, that's cool, eh? Yeah.
That's cool.
That was Too Much Texas he was talking about there.
Yeah, and this is all pre the, so he'd already done all that cool stuff. Yeah. Hacienda, it's flats now, isn't it?
Oh.
Is it?
God.
But the flats are called the Hacienda, I think. They have kept that at least.
Right.
Yeah, cynically. To make more money.
Exactly. To try to make more money, yeah.
I know.
They got like ecstasy vending machine in the hallways and stuff like that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Big short riders on the door.
On the door. He's like the janitor.
Yeah. He's like the bellboy, like in Quadrophenia, where Sting ends up on the door at the Grand.
Well, that's what it says his job, isn't it? Yeah. He pretends he's the ace face, but he's actually just a bellboy. Yeah.
Bell end. Stink, innit? We're allowed to take the piss out of Stink.
Oh, man. Well, you can, but not that film. It's so good, man. Quadrophenia.
Oh, no, not the film. The film's brilliant. And he is good in that film as well.
He's amazing. That court scene where he goes to court and he pays the fine and stuff. That's based on like real transcripts from like mods detained from the Brighton riots. Yeah. They're like real transcripts. He's like, shall I pay now or afterwards or something like that? Apparently, it's like a verbatim transcript from the court records. That's cool, right?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
We would have been mods, right?
Yeah, if we had to. Well, I don't know. I was into Def Leppard, wasn't I? I've been a rocker.
But surely, politically, we would have been on the mod side. Or would we have been on the rocker
I don't know,
side?
man. Like,
I don't know if it was that based on politics, was it?
No, not really. No, it wasn't about that.
I thought it was.
No, if anything, the mods were the kind of the capitalists. They were the kind of the young up and comers that wanted to get ahead in the city and break out of their working class roots, And because they wore suits and had nice haircuts, they were able to do so, which the rockers couldn't do, Even though most of them were like working class kids that left school at 15. So
if you had a moped, you'd have been a.
You had a moped.
Yeah, you'd have been a mod. You were a mod.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just assumed I would have been a mod, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I think you would. I still like to dress mod casual.
I don't know. You were conflicted. You had a moped, but you had a brown leather jacket. So
yeah, man, you were mixing up the subcultures.
It could have been either. Teams. You could have driven along Brighton Prom, and you'd have been adored by both.
Yeah.
Well, we got to talk about Noel Gallagher, I guess, aren't we?
Okay, so what's your interpretation of all of the many things he said about it? What's your takeaway?
I think we learned a lot, to be honest.
I think
Go on in, Dave. Give us
fairly balanced.
I was saying I don't think we really learnt much.
No, not.
I think all we've learnt about Noel is just he's an ordinary bloke who happened to have this quite good songwriting talent, but he's ordinary in every other possible way, as far as I can tell.
What about? I think it's really interesting that he didn't know that Noel had tried out for his job, and he said, "I wouldn't have let him be a roadie if I'd have known that." That's interesting, right?
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
And he said, he didn't get on with Noel at the beginning because Noel had this resentment against him, but he didn't know while Noel was resenting him. That was I didn't know any of that. And that was new stuff for me, man. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I meant about Noel's character. I don't think we learned anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think we really learned that much about Noel.
I think we learned a lot about the situation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that does tell you a lot about Noel's character, right? If you're going to be resentful of someone just because of that and be a dick to him, then that's...
Yeah, but we would have expected that of him, wouldn't we? From everything else we
we would have expected it of him, but a normal person wouldn't have done, would they?
Not openly, no.
Well, a normal person...
And he's interesting... Go on.
He's has...
That's true. Most people are pretty petty and... Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. What about his... assertion that Noel couldn't have become Noel Gallagher if he had been the roadie for the Roses or the Mondays?
Unlikely. Don't really agree. Do you? Was the argument because he'd have been too drugged up to get anywhere?
Well, the argument was, there would have been the clash of egos if he'd have been in the roadie for the Roses, and that wouldn't have worked
I don't think it'd have lasted as long in those bands.
And he was also implying that Noel learned a lot from standing at the side of the stage. He said, 350 gigs. He stood at the side of the stage and, soaked it up and kind of learnt the craft that way. So.
I agree with that. Totally.
Yeah.
That's definitely that's a massive leg up in the industry, isn't it? And all the contacts you make as well. That all helps. But I don't know if it would have made that much difference which band it'd have been a roadie in. But maybe it wouldn't have lasted as long in the other bands. I don't know.
Yeah, not enough to learn the craft that he needed to, which he could do with the Inspiral Carpets. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was funny to hear that he was in many of their pictures just as a stand-in. That was quite cool.
Yeah.
It'd be good to find one.
Have you seen pictures of Noel back then? He had
what was he like?
Did
he have the bowl?
He had the bowl cut.
Yeah.
I bet he did.
It must have been around the time that he auditioned to sing, but he looked like he could have been in the Inspirals for sure. I do think I think I said to you, Luke, if you picture his voice singing something like "This is how it feels to be lonely" and stuff, you can kind of picture Noel's voice.
I can picture him doing that, but I can't picture him doing like Saturn V or I Want You.
No,
that wouldn't have worked.
Well, that's the thing. That's like Oasis. He couldn't have done all of them. It would have been would have been shit. But there's certain songs that you kind of hear him singing in the Inspiral Carpets. But
Tom was better looking, and he much better front man.
Yeah. I mean, I think Noel's great in interviews and stuff, but not sure if he is a charismatic front man.
I don't know. Have you seen him like as a front man, as like High Flying Bird or anything? Have you ever been to see him?
I don't like them.
Fine.
But also, he's older now. He's got more charisma now. But
that's true.
If he'd been picked as the Inspirals lead, I don't think they would have been as good or successful.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Like those early Oasis interviews, they were great, but I think maybe they're only great together. If he'd have been by himself, he probably wouldn't have been. I don't know, but
he is quite funny in interviews, even on his own. Well, he is quite funny.
But I don't know. To me, he's got like so it's a bit contrived. He's got like the manner of like a studied raconteur, you know, like he like pauses in the right places, and it's like he's kind of rehearsed it. I don't know, man, which is kind of it works and they're funny, but it feels a bit contrived to me. But maybe it's just my bias against Noel. I don't know, man. But his claim that Liam and Noel's kind of rift is fabricated for.
I've often thought that myself.
Really,
I find it
never occurred to me.
I'm not sure that they haven't spoken for 15 years. I can't see that how that's even possible when they're in a close family, like with his mum and stuff.
Yeah, it rang true for me.
Well, maybe not picked up the phone, but yeah, if they're both round for Christmas or whatever, right? Oh, I hope it's not, man. I hope it's genuine.
Brothers argue, don't they? That is like a thing.
What about his claim that Inspiral Carpets are a better band than Oasis? What's your take on this?
He was quite adamant.
He didn't claim that, did he?
Yeah, he did.
A couple of times.
Yeah, I think he said that Noel knows deep down that Inspirals are a better band.
I really didn't hear that in the interview, and I've listened to it twice.
It depends on how you critique it, I guess. Like, if you're critiquing it on record sales, then obviously Oasis are the better band.
How about on songwriting?
Then arguably Inspiral Carpets have got a bit more depth to them, right?
But are they better?
Well, if we're
I mean, as much as I'm not keen on Noel, I think Oasis are better.
I think so too.
Better.
As a as a crafter of songs, I think Neil's right. There's less depth and there's less innovation, but in terms of just
I think that's what
great
Tom
timeless songs, right?
Alluding to. Yeah,
maybe.
And the Inspirals also got there first. You know, if you this is how it feels. 1990.
Well, they're innovators.
Just come out the 80s, and this song sounds completely new.
Yeah.
So
well,
I'll definitely
the
give them
60s
that.
kind of sound, but yeah.
Or different from.
It's interesting he mentioned the Doors. I can't believe I hadn't put that together. I mean, the Doors is like the obvious influence, right? I can't believe I hadn't noticed it before.
Original space rockers.
Original space rockers, as they're known.
You know my feelings on the Doors. But yeah, I guess. Yeah, well, they've got the keyboard, haven't they? That keyboard is good in the Doors. It's probably the only bit I like.
Oh man, again, but just amazing songs, just perfectly crafted, amazing songs, right?
Oh, the Doors.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. It's just fucking poems.
No, they're
poetry to music.
That's what songs are.
Yeah, I guess that is what songs are. Yeah, you're right. I haven't really argued my point very well there. It's only a little section, but I just, from experience, bands selling their own merch. That's an interesting point, right? I think part of it is breaking the wall, breaking the sort of, if you're in a big band and you're up there on stage, you're kind of not, I don't know. And then suddenly you're selling the merch at the side afterwards. It kind of breaks. Do you know what I mean? Probably not.
In a good way or a bad way?
A good way.
Well,
right?
it depends on how you look at it, I guess.
I think it's good because that's what it's about.
What,
man.
that they are selling the merch.
See, you've always been one for like rock star posing and stuff, haven't you? You're Mr. fucking feet on the monitor, kind of sunglasses in the daytime, kind of rock star guy. And I see. I understand why you say that. You want them to be a rock star, right? I want them to be kind of DIY.
Yeah, and maybe there is that sort of that they're not accessible sort of thing. They're there, they play, and then they go, and then they're done. You know.
Yeah, you've always like that. Even when we were teenagers, and you were making terrible cassettes in your bedroom, you're always like, "Good night," like that, you know. And then you'd exit stage as if you're a rock star. Yeah, no, man, I get what you're saying now. I'm just saying. You're saying that it's not a bad thing.
You're saying we used to do imaginary gigs in our bedroom.
I'm saying we used to. Well, we used to sing stupid shit and record it on cassettes and pretend we were doing
Good
a concert.
Evening Wembley
Well, I
and all
didn't.
that
You
sort of
did. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you do sort of break that wall if you do the selling of merchandise afterwards.
Are you talking about when the band members will actually go and do the selling of the merch?
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen on with a big stadium gig, would it?
No.
No, but I think we're talking sort of smaller size venues. No one sells their own merch when they're massive.
No.
It's just not possible, is it?
Should do that.
Not really. It probably should.
But
in Luke's
just getting out and meeting your fans.
I would.
That's a nice thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
But getting down and dirty selling your own merch, that's a different thing altogether, isn't it?
No.
Oh man. No, it's part. You're just part of the community. Part of the,
when we spoke to Chris
together.
Helm, he's like a traveling salesman. He takes all his merch in a little suitcase to all his gigs.
Yeah.
I like all that. But I don't know. I guess it depends on the size of the band as well, doesn't it? I think Main Street used to sell their own T-shirts.
To themselves?
Pretty much.
To their mums.
I think we were always surprised when someone bought one. I remember we played this gig once, like in Bournemouth, and then these two lads come up. They weren't from Bournemouth, and we have a couple of T-shirts. I bought them. I just thought, it's fucking weird. Why do they want one?
Was this after the gig or before?
After the gig.
No, they're after. They just they enjoyed the gig.
Well, that's the point of it, I guess. But yeah, it was a bit of a surprise.
They probably thought they were making an investment.
Yeah, they thought you were going to be the next big thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I think he finished on a nice comment, saying, I was in this great band and certain other people weren't. Meaning Noel, of course. Just he had to get that last word in.
To be fair to him, though, we did bring up the Noel thing.
Okay, but not the Noel thing. But do you think he was fucked over by the band bringing in the original guy after he'd contributed so much over all those albums, all those years?
Did he leave or was he thrown out?
Well, we don't know.
I mean, it's a shame, but he can't. He didn't have a right to be in it, I suppose. I mean, he's got sort of a right to any royalties or whatever from his time in the band, but he can't do anything about them getting a new singer now, can he?
No, but then if they're singing all of these songs that he wrote and he worked on and he poured his heart and soul into over many years, right? That's just got to be. I understand, man.
Anyone would be perturbed about that. Anyway,
I didn't think you would be able to do that without his permission. Anyway,
not sure, but that's a difficult one, isn't it? Because Liam carried on singing all the Oasis songs, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he sings Inspiral Carpets songs at his own gigs. So
yeah, I don't know what. I don't think there's any law against it, that sort of thing.
Oh, there are. There's so many laws. There's like the main lawsuits that happen when bands get into this kind of difficulty, right? There are. But I don't know in this case, right?
I think whoever owns the band name can play the whole, can do the whole back catalogue sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not sure how it works. But
anyway, that's understandable.
If someone took over me in a band and started singing all the songs that I'd written, I'd be fucked up. For sure.
It's funny that taking over names, right? Do you remember the TVS, the TV channel we have for ITV?
Television South, yeah.
Yeah. My neighbour bought the rights to that logo. And now his business has that as his logo. So he's like TVS.
Sure.
And using that, do you remember that coloured rainbow logo?
Yeah, well, that's mental.
But now they don't need it anymore. That company doesn't exist anymore. The Television South doesn't exist anymore.
No, but he had to pay for that.
Right.
Yeah.
There's the famous story about 20th Century Fox, isn't there?
Right.
They forgot to register it for the 21st century. Someone else bought.
That's just one of those urban myths, isn't it?
Yeah, it is an urban myth, but it could be true. Yeah, the rumour is that someone else bought 21st Century Fox and they sold it to them for loads of money.
Yeah. But what's funny about that rumour is that it was believable. But of course, now we're in 2025, it's called 20th Century Fox. And, so what? but we actually
that's true.
that
Nobody cares
in the 90s. Yeah.
But I mean, in the early days of the internet, everyone tried to register different domain names, didn't they, and then sell them to big companies for loads of money.
That's called carpet bagging, wasn't it?
Carpet bagging, is that right?
You're a carpet
Inspiral carpet bagging.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, that's it for that one. Thanks, Tom, for coming on and giving us your time. Appreciate that. And thanks to your daughters for being so well behaved and patient while we did that.
You sure they're not in their 20s or something?
I don't know. I didn't really say.
You're saying
no, they
well
weren't. No, they weren't. They weren't so young. They were reasonably young. Yeah, they were.
If you are watching this, do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Get us to that 1,000 mark, and then get involved in the comments. Let us know your favourite Inspiral Carpet tracks, albums, gigs, all that stuff. If you're listening, then please do rate a review. Go on, drop us a little review. Give us 2 minutes of your time. Really appreciate it. Come on. And share it with your friends so they can find the podcast. Don't forget to download the Stupid app onto your iPhone at the moment. Soon to be Android. It's easy then. You can just watch the podcast and just nip over to the playlist in one click.
If you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. If you're into early 90s indie music, this is the podcast for you. So all your favourite early 90s bands are in there. Wonderstuff, Jesus Jones, EMF. Who else have we had on from that kind of era, the early part of the 90s? Trying to think.
Senseless Things.
Levelers. Carter.
Senseless Things, Levelers, Carter, the Unstoppable Sex Machine, whatever you're into, we've got interviews with them, so get stuck into the archives. We also do a mixtape for every episode, so all of your favourite Inspiral Carpets tunes will be on there. Mavericks, Cranberries, all the great stuff.
Can't wait.
You'll be dancing the night away.
Texas.
Oh, not Texas on. There's limits, man.
Boy.
There's limits, man. Come on.
But that's it for this one. Join us next week for episode 77. Oh, it's a wang next week.
Oh, 77. 2 sevens clash. Oh, man. That's why the Clash are called the Clash, you know. Anyway. Sorry, finish it. We can talk about it next week.
Wang next week. Don't know what it is yet. You'll find out next week. But tune in next week for episode 77 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. Dave?
Ciao.